The morning sun crept over the green hills of a small village where Kian lived in a tiny mud house with his mother. His clothes were old, his shoes torn, but his smile never faded. Every day before sunrise, he helped his mother fetch water from the well and fed their only cow before running to school. His bag half-stitched but filled with dreams. At school, his best friend Axel was waiting by the gate, wearing new shoes, a clean uniform, and a shiny watch. Axel came from the richest family in the village. His father owned half the farms, and his mother Zilla was known for her pride and temper. But Axel wasn't like her. He had a kind heart and always treated Kian as his brother. "Hey Kian," Axel shouted with a grin. Kian smiled back. "You're early today. Mom dropped me off before going to the market. She said I should focus on my studies." Kian laughed. "You're lucky. I walked 3 miles today." The two boys sat under the banyan tree, sharing Kian's dry bread and Axel's fresh fruit. It didn't matter that one was poor and the other rich. Their friendship was real, built on laughter, dreams, and trust. But not everyone liked it. Zilla, Axel's mother, watched them one afternoon from her car window as she drove past the school. Her eyes narrowed. Her son sitting beside a poor boy with dusty clothes. Her pride burned. That evening, when Axel returned home, she was waiting. "Axel, come here," she said sharply. "I saw you again with that boy." "His name is Kian, Mom," Axel said quietly. "I don't care what his name is. You're spending too much time with him. You should be around children who can teach you something, not ones who'll pull you down." Axel frowned. "Kian is smart, Mom. He helps me study. He's my best friend." Zilla turned away. "You're too young to understand. Stay away from him. I don't want that poor influence near you." Axel's chest tightened, but he said nothing. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking of Kian's laughter, his big dreams, his honest eyes. He couldn't imagine losing that friendship. The next morning, Axel sneaked out early and met Kian by the riverbank. "My mom saw us," Axel whispered. "She doesn't want me to see you anymore." Kian's smile faded. "Because I'm poor, right?" Axel hesitated. "Yeah." Kian looked down. "I understand. She wants the best for you." "No," Axel said firmly. "You are my best. You're the only one who never lied to me." They promised not to let anyone break their bond. But the world has a way of testing promises. Days passed, and Zilla's dislike turned into obsession. She told the teachers, "Separate those boys in class. Axel needs focus." She told other mothers, "That poor boy's family is lazy. They'll drag us down," whisper by whisper, rumor by rumor. She poisoned every ear. Kian started noticing people stare at him differently. Some children laughed behind his back. His teacher, once kind, now avoided giving him responsibility. The air around him grew heavy with judgment. One afternoon, Axel's driver arrived at Kian's house. Zilla sat in the car, arms folded. Kian's mother came out, wiping her hands. "Madam, what brings you here?" Zilla gave a cold smile. "I came to talk about your son." Kian's mother nodded nervously. "Is he in trouble?" "No," Zilla said sweetly, "but I think it's best for everyone if Kian keeps his distance from Axel. My son has a future. I don't want it ruined by bad company." Kian's mother stiffened. "My son may be poor, madame, but he's not bad company." Zilla's voice sharpened. "Don't misunderstand me. Some people just don't belong in the same world. I hope you understand." Kian, standing behind the door, heard every word. That night, he cried silently under the stars, his heart breaking for reasons he couldn't name. Days turned into weeks. Axel tried to meet him, but his mother had tightened control. New tutors, new schedule, new friends from the city. Kian would still wait near the school gate sometimes, hoping Axel would come, but he didn't. One rainy evening, Kian saw Axel from afar, inside a car, with Zilla beside him. He waved. Axel's eyes met his for a second, but the car didn't stop. Kian stood in the rain, his clothes drenched, tears mixing with raindrops. He whispered, "It's okay, Axel. Maybe you forgot me, but I'll never forget you." At home, his mother found him shivering, holding a small wooden toy, a gift Axel had once given him. "Some friendships," she said softly, "are tested not by distance, but by pride." Kian nodded, staring out the window at the fading road. Somewhere deep inside, something changed. The innocence, the blind trust replaced by a quiet determination. He would prove that worth wasn't measured by money, but by heart. Months passed, and the seasons changed, but Kian's world stayed the same, quiet, poor, and lonely. Axel had stopped coming to school. His mother had transferred him to a private academy in the nearby town. It felt like the whole world had moved on except Kian. He still sat under the old banyan tree where they used to share lunch. Sometimes he would draw on the dirt with a stick, small dreams, like opening a shop or buying his mother a new shawl. He missed Axel's laughter, but more than that, he missed the feeling of being seen. One evening, Kian's mother looked at him and said softly, "Son, I know it hurts, but you must keep studying. Education will take you where friendship couldn't." Kian nodded. "I will, Ma. I'll study hard one day." Axel's mother will know that a poor boy can still shine. He worked day and night repairing old radios, cleaning yards, helping farmers just to earn enough to buy second-hand books. His hands grew rough, his shoulders strong. He didn't have much, but he had purpose. Meanwhile, in town, Axel's life wasn't as perfect as Zilla imagined. The new school was big and fancy, but Axel felt out of place. His new friends liked him for his money, not his heart. They laughed at others, made fun of poor people, and treated everything like a game. Axel couldn't stop thinking about Kian, the boy who had shared his last piece of bread without hesitation. One night, Axel overheard his parents arguing. His father's voice was angry. "You've made the boy miserable, Zilla. He's lonely," Zilla snapped. "He needs to learn his place. That poor child would have ruined him." Axel clenched his fists behind the door. "Ruined him?" he whispered. "Kian taught me what kindness means." He decided to visit the village secretly. The next morning, he slipped away before dawn and rode his bicycle down the dusty road toward home. When he reached the village, he found Kian near the well, helping his mother lift buckets of water. Kian looked up and froze. Axel smiled shyly. "You look taller, and you look richer," Kian said, forcing a grin. They both laughed awkwardly before hugging each other. For a moment, time rewound. They were just two boys again, no walls between them. They spent the morning talking by the river, remembering the old days. Axel pulled out a small gift, a leather notebook. "So you can write your dreams," he said. Kian ran his fingers over it, smiling. "Thank you. I'll fill it with things I'll make true." But fate was listening, and it wasn't kind. When Axel returned home that evening, Zilla was waiting on the porch, her face pale with fury. "Where were you?" she demanded. "I went to see Kian," he said honestly. Her hand trembled with anger. "After everything I told you, you disobeyed me again for that." "Boy, Mom, he's my friend." "He's nothing," she shouted. "He's bore. He's a burden, and I will not let you throw your future away for him." Axel stepped back, voice shaking. "You can't control who I care about." Zilla's eyes hardened. "Watch me." The next day, Zilla visited Kian's house again, this time with rage instead of fake kindness. When Kian's mother opened the door, Zilla stormed in. "I warned you once. Keep your son away from mine." Kian came forward. "Mrs. Zilla." Axel came on his own. "Enough," she screamed. "You're a leech. You'll never be anything more than a poor beggar's son. Stop poisoning my child's mind." Kian's mother stood in front of him. "Don't speak to my boy that way," Zilla sneered. "Then teach him to stay where he belongs." In the dirt, she left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. Kian stood frozen, humiliation burning in his chest. That night, he sat outside under the stars, clutching the notebook Axel had given him. He whispered, "She hates me because I'm poor, but I'll show her. I'll rise, not to make her proud, but to make her see she was wrong." From that day, Kian stopped waiting for anyone. He focused on his studies like never before. He worked at night, read by candlelight, and refused to give up no matter how tired he became. Years passed. Axel's family moved to the city completely. Kian finished school with top marks and won a scholarship to a university. He left his small village behind, carrying only his mother's blessings and the old notebook filled with dreams. In the city, life was tough. The students mocked his accent, his clothes, his background, but Kian stayed calm. He remembered Zilla's words and used them as fuel. Slowly, he started gaining respect. His projects were creative, his ideas sharp. Professors began to notice him. One of them, a kind old teacher, said, "You have something special, son. You see the world differently." Kian smiled softly. "Maybe because I've lived in the parts of it others ignore." By the time he graduated, he had already designed a small rural development project helping villages get clean water through low-cost systems. The idea got picked up by a local newspaper. A photo of Kian smiling modestly in front of his invention went viral across the city and far away. In a large mansion, Zilla saw that newspaper on her breakfast table. Her hands froze midair. The caption read, "Young engineer from poor village helps transform rural communities." She stared at the picture, the same boy she once called worthless. Axel came downstairs, took one look, and smiled proudly. Vesky and Zilla looked at her son, her lips pressed tight. "You still talk to him?" "Not yet," Axel said quietly, "but I plan to." Zilla didn't respond. For the first time, she had no words. Time had changed everything. Yet, deep inside, the past still lived in Kian's heart. He had built a new life, but the memories of his village, his mother, and his only friend Axel, still followed him like a quiet shadow. Years of struggle had turned him into a humble, yet determined young man. His invention for clean water wasn't just a project anymore. It had become a mission. He traveled from village to village, helping families who once suffered like his own. People started calling him the boy who brought hope. But success doesn't erase pain. It only gives it purpose. One evening, while checking a new project site, Kian received an email. It was from a company in the city that wanted to fund his work. The name on the letterhead caught his eye. Axel Industry. His hands trembled. Could it be the same Axel? The letter invited him to a partnership meeting in the city's largest conference hall. Kian didn't hesitate. That night, he packed his bag, looked at his mother, and said, "Maybe it's time to meet my past again." She smiled and whispered, "Be kind, even when they weren't." The next morning, he entered the glass building with cautious steps. The receptionist guided him to the top floor. His heart raced faster with every step. The elevator doors opened, and there he was. Axel, standing tall, dressed in a gray suit. His eyes widened. The moment he saw Kian for a second, time froze. Then both of them smiled, not as rich and poor, but as two souls who had once shared bread under a tree. Kian, Axel whispered, walking forward. I can't believe it's really you. Kian smiled softly. I guess I clean up okay now. They both laughed, the years melting away between them. They spent hours talking about the past, the projects, the pain, and the distance. Axel confessed, Kian, I wanted to see you for years, but my mother, she wouldn't let me. I was young, scared to stand up to her, and that's something I regret every day. Kian nodded gently. We were kids, Axel. We both did what we could. But before the day ended, a familiar cold voice echoed from behind. Axel. They turned, and there she was, Zilla, older now, her hair streaked with gray, but her pride still alive in her eyes. She looked at Kian like she had seen a ghost she never wanted to face. Kian, she said quietly. So it's you. Kian bowed his head politely. Mrs. Zilla, it's been a long time. Her lips tightened. I didn't expect you here. Axel stepped forward. He's not just a guest, Mom, he's our new partner. His company is the reason we got the rural development contract. Zilla's eyes flickered with disbelief. Partner him? Yes, Axel said firmly. The same boy you told me to stay away from. Silence filled the room. The weight of her past words hung between them like smoke. Kian spoke softly. Mrs. Zilla, I didn't come here to prove anything. I came because I believe people can still do good no matter where they come from. Her expression faltered for the first time. The humility in his voice disarmed her. They all sat in the boardroom. The meeting was professional, but the air was heavy with unspoken emotion. Zilla remained quiet for most of it, her gaze shifting between Kian's calm confidence and Axel's quiet pride. After the presentation, Axel said, Mom, Kian's technology will change thousands of lives. Don't you see? This is what real success looks like. Zilla didn't respond. Her heart was caught between shame and disbelief. Later that evening, as Kian prepared to leave, she stopped him at the door. Kian, she said slowly, her voice softer now. You've done well. Kian smiled faintly. Thank you. She looked down. I misjudged you once. I thought being poor meant being small. I was wrong. Kian nodded kindly. We all learn in our own time. Mrs. Zilla, I don't hold anything against you. Her eyes glistened for a moment before she turned away. Axel walked with Kian outside to his car. You handled that better than I ever could, he said. Kian smiled. Anger doesn't heal the heart, Axel. Forgiveness does. They stood quietly for a moment, watching the sun dip behind the tall city buildings. Axel said softly, I missed our old days. Kian chuckled. I still have that wooden toy you gave me. Axel grinned. And I still remember your old notebook. Kian looked ahead, the light fading. Maybe our friendship was never really broken, just waiting to find its way back. That night, Kian returned to his small rented apartment. He looked out the window at the bright city lights, so different from the stars of his village, and whispered, Thank you, life, for letting me meet him again. But destiny wasn't done with them. Not yet. A few months later, tragedy struck. Axel's father passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. The company fell into chaos. Zilla, heartbroken and overwhelmed, started losing control of her empire. The debts, the pressure, the board, everything began to crumble. One night, Axel called Kian, his voice trembling. I don't know what to do, Kian. Everything's falling apart. Mom's not the same. She blames herself. Kian paused for a moment. Tell her to hold on. I'll help. We'll rebuild this together. Axel's voice broke. After everything she did, you'd still help us. Kian smiled softly. Because you're my friend, Axel, and because pain should never be repaid with pain. The morning air in the city was thick with tension. News of Axel's father's death had spread, and the once proud Zilla mansion stood like a broken monument to a fading name. For years, that family had symbolized wealth and power. Now, whispers of bankruptcy and betrayal echoed in every corner of the business world. Kian arrived at their home unannounced, his old shoes pressed against marble floors that once seemed too fine for him. He saw Axel sitting on the staircase, his suit undone, eyes hollow from sleepless nights. Kian, Axel muttered, voice cracking. You shouldn't have come. It's all gone. Everything. Kian walked over, sat beside him, and said gently, You still have your name, Axel. You still have your heart. That's what matters. Axel laughed bitterly. My heart? It's broken. My mother's? She doesn't even eat. She just sits in father's chair all day, staring at the wall. Kian stood up. Then let's bring her out of that darkness. He walked to the living room, where Zilla sat motionless, her once commanding eyes dull and distant. The woman who once looked down on him now looked like a shadow of herself. Mrs. Zilla, he said softly, I came to see if you're all right. She didn't respond. Her hands trembled as they rested on the armchair. The room was filled with silence and regret. Kian kneeled beside her. Do you remember the first time you saw me? You said I didn't belong in your world. He paused. Now I realize, maybe you were right, because this world, it was too cold for hearts like ours. Her lips quivered. Why are you here, Kian? After all I did what? He looked at her with calm eyes. Because forgiveness isn't weakness. It's freedom. For a moment, her mask broke. Tears welled up in her eyes. She whispered, I thought money made us untouchable. But I lost my husband, my peace, and nearly my son because I forgot what kindness feels like. Kian smiled faintly. Then let's start over. Together, he proposed a plan to merge their resources, use his rural projects to rebuild the company's image, and turn Axel.Years into a foundation for clean water and sustainable farming. It wasn't just business. It was redemption. At first, Zilla resisted, but Axel saw the sincerity in Kian's words and convinced her to trust again. Weeks turned into months. Under Kian's guidance, the company rose from its ashes, not as a symbol of luxury, but of compassion. They built schools, funded water systems, and supported poor families across the villages. The same people who once mocked Kian's poverty now spoke his name with respect. One afternoon, Kian and Axel visited their childhood village. They walked the dusty paths they once ran barefoot on, laughing at memories that had never truly faded. Children ran past them, playing near the same tree where they'd once carved their names. Kian smiled and touched the bark. The old initials were still there, faint but visible. Look, he said, we never really left. Axel grinned. No, we just took the long road home. A small group of villagers gathered around them, clapping and cheering. An old woman approached, her face wrinkled with years of hard life. It was the midwife who helped deliver Kian. She said, You've become what your father dreamed you'd be, my boy. You brought light where there was none. Kian's eyes shimmered. I just remembered what pain feels like, and decided no one else should feel it. As the sun dipped low, they stood by the river that ran near the village. The water shimmered with the golden light of evening. Zilla arrived a few moments later, dressed simply. Holding flowers, she placed them by the water and whispered, For all the wrongs I did, may these wash them away. Kian stood beside her quietly. She turned to him and said, You gave me back my son, my peace, and a reason to live. I can never repay that, he replied softly. You already did by believing in what's right. That night, they sat by a small campfire with the villagers. Laughter replaced sorrow, and stories replaced silence. Zilla, once known for her pride, now listened humbly as a child told her how Kian had helped build their school. She smiled a genuine, warm smile that had been buried for decades. Axel leaned toward Kian and said, You changed us all. Even her. Kian shook his head. No, Axel, life did. I just showed the path. Later that night, when everyone had gone, Kian walked alone toward the river again. He looked up at the moon. Bright, unbothered by clouds. Father, he whispered, I hope I made you proud. Behind him, Axel called out, You did more than that, brother. You changed everything. Kian turned, smiling. Then maybe, finally, it's time to rest. Years later, the world would know Kian, not as a poor boy from a forgotten village, but as Kian, the dream builder, a man whose scars became his strength, whose forgiveness healed others, and whose story taught that even the poorest soul could carry the richest heart. And Zilla, in her final years, would often tell visitors, I once feared poverty more than anything, but I learned that a poor heart is worse than an empty hand. Kian taught me that. Axel continued his work, building schools under the Kian Foundation, never letting his friend's legacy fade, and somewhere in that quiet village, children still play near that old tree, where two names are carved side by side, Kian and Axel, friends forever. The wind carries their story still, a tale of pain, forgiveness, and the power of love that no wealth could ever buy.